Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirklees Guitar School. In today's guitar lesson I'm going to teach you how to play Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Now I'm going to keep referencing a free tab, which is a 3-page PDF you can get for free from my website. If you head to the first link in the description, you can download the tabs for this completely for free along with nearly 100 other guitar lessons. Don't want anything from you, no sign-ups, no nothing, no BS. Go get that from the first link in the description. I go into great detail and it'd be good for you to sort of go through it with a pencil. You're going to need to sort of scour this to get the most out of it. So, let's get into the lesson today. I'll talk about tones and stuff later on. If you know little bits of this song already, use the chapters feature and just get what you need out of this lesson. It's all there in the PDF. Right, okie dokie. So we're going to start with the main riff for the song, okay? That's what we're going for. So it'll play this twice. Iommi will play this twice by himself, and then he'll play it twice with the rest of the rhythm section in. So what I want to do is let's try and break that up a little bit. So let's have a look at these hammer-ons at the beginning. Now it's an E5 power chord. We're in the key of E minor. I'm playing the 12th fret on the low E string, and then the 14th fret on the A string to create this power chord. Now I'll talk about Iommi's technique in a bit, but we're going to play lots of power chords quite high up the neck today. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bar the 12th fret of both the low E and the A string, and I'm going to strike those two strings, and then immediately I'm going to take the ring finger and I'm going to hammer it into the 14th fret of the A. You hear how you hear how something changes? And when my 14th fret is pressed down, I'm still pressing down that 12th fret. You don't want to let off that 12th fret of the A string at all. And we're going to play that 3 times. This is at the top of the PDF, literally bar 1. We're going to play for these two are going to last for a beat and a half, and this is going to last for a beat by itself, okay? These two are the same distance apart. This one is ever so slightly shorter. Pause the video and get that under your fingers for me. If you're okay, we're going to have a look at bar number 2, which has the single note kind of hammer-on part. Now, we're using position 1 of the E minor pentatonic scale, and we're hammering between the 12th fret and the 14th fret of the A string. I'm then going to drop all that down to the D string and do exactly the same. First 4 notes, hammer between those. Moving into the 5th and 6th note, we go back to the A string and play those again. Now a lot of people will play this lick twice, myself included for the first couple of years of me playing guitar. It actually just plays the 12th fret of the D and then the 14th fret of the A to round the phrase off. And you've got to really I use a program called Moises to break the tracks down into individual parts so I can hear them. And it's very, very subtle, but this is definitely right. So there's 3 hammers on the first 3 picks. You don't need to play any of these 14s. You don't need to pick any of them. And then you pick these 2 here. Now, you can do down or up picking there, doesn't really matter either way, you've got enough time to get there. The 2 parts glued together look like this. And you're going to play that 4 times before Ozzy starts singing. Pause the video now and get that under your fingers. If we're okay, we're going to move on to the next slide, which is the verse. Now the verse looks like this in its entirety, okay? I appreciate these chords are a little bit messed up. I will sort this out before the PDF goes live on the website. E5 for 2 bars, D5 for a bar, and then we've got this, which we'll talk about in a second. Now what I'd like to do, that E5 that we were hammering onto, it's that same shape, 12th fret and 14th fret of the E and the A string, but I'm going to use this chubby bit at the bottom of my palm. We're using quite a lot of gain today, so I'm having to kind of try and keep my guitar as quiet as I can. This sort of chubby bit at the bottom of my palm, I'm going to rest just past the bridge on the guitar, pretty much where the pickup comes. And what you're looking for with a palm, when you're palm muting, you want to cover the string just enough. It's almost like if I cover my mouth while I'm talking to you, you can still tell what I'm saying, but it sounds fairly muted. That's what you want from that. Now, let's have a look here, look. If I go back to that slide, actually. If I'm muting, if my palm's too far over, you're not going to get anything. So I'd start a little bit generous and work your way backwards until you get the noise. You don't want this, but you don't want this either. You want somewhere in between. So palm. On the SG, I kind of like it because the rough spot is between the edge of the pickup and the back of the Tune-o-matic. Every guitar's ever so slightly different, and the player has a lot to do with it as well. But we should palm mute where we can, and just focus on muting the lowest 3 strings, even though we are only playing 2. And we're going to play this in quavers. We're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you can either play that 14th fret if you're struggling with the stretch with the pinky, or I'm going to use the ring finger today, okay? Some power chords have 3 fingers on the fretboard. This only has 2, and I'll explain why a little bit later on, okay? So we're going to do two full bars of E5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and bar 2. I've just played these 2 here. We're then going to move into bar 3 where we take that whole shape, E5, down to D5, which is fret 10, with the index finger and fret 12 with the ring finger. A D and an A makes a D5 chord. We're going to play that for a bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 bars of E, 1 bar of D, sorry, my mistake. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move it down. 2, 3, 4. So let's talk about this bit over here and then we'll stitch it all together. So that D5 is the 3rd bar of the previous slide, and then this is a bit more spaced out. So we've just come from the D5. This note here, we've just finished D5 hypothetically. We're then going to move to G5. I want you to take that shape and move it all down a string. By moving it down a string to the 10th fret of the A and the 12th fret of the D, creates a little G5 chord. We're going to quickly play that and then come back to us D5 where we once came. This is a quaver, this is a dotted crotchet. So this is a quick one, this is a long one. Just practice that for me before you go to the E5. And if you're feeling confident, you take that shape and we go all the way back to where we started, very first started the piece on this E5, all the way over here. Da da da. Just practice those 3 notes, then we'll talk about those 12s in a second. If I put the D5 in before it, and then I'm going to take my index finger and I'm going to bar the D string and the G string at the 12th fret, and I'm just going to play like a little dyad there. Now I like to slide out of it. I've heard Iommi do it a couple of times, but not in every bar. So take that with a pinch of salt. The whole thing. Before I tell you to pause the video, let me put that back on. So you've got E, E, D, that's the verse section, and any kind of instrumental section where the band's chugging along. If you were, I think this is under the solo as well, but don't quote me on that because we're actually going to do the lead parts later on in the lesson. Pause the video and get that under your fingers. We've just talked about that, so let's have a look here. So then there's like a little break every once in a while. We've talked about the. And then you'll hear occasionally this. See how we've got repeat markers either side, those funny looking brackets here and here. that means that we've got to play this line twice. We're going to play that E5 chord. We're going to let it hold. We're going to hold it for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just hit it once, let it sustain, because we're using quite a lot of gain, so it sounds pretty good. After that, we're going to take that chord shape and we're going to move it from 12 and 14 to 8 and 10 to a C and a G. That makes a C5 chord. This is going to last for 2 beats, and I'm going to walk up to the D5 on the way back up to the E. So this lasts for 4 beats, this lasts for 2, this lasts for 2, and then we go back to the chugging bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and E, 2, 3, 4, C, D, E. Just a nice little variation. Pause the video and get that under your fingers. I think it features twice in the song. We'll talk about the structure in a minute. Now, finally, before we get onto the solo, because we've nearly done all the rhythm parts, you'll see a bridge part come up. I think it's on the second page. Let me just have a quick look. Yes, top of the second page. Now, this is... Can you help me occupy my brain? It's that bit, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to hold this E5, and I call these washing lines, these lines that are connecting bar 1 and bar 2. Now, what that means is I'm going to strike this E5 over here, and I'm going to let the note ring out so long that it actually spills over into the next bar. So this chord, you're only strumming it once. When a note's in brackets, it means you don't have to strum it again. And you're going to let it just ring out for 8 beats, and then we go to the D5 and do exactly the same. So you'll go E, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's repeat markers, so we do it again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, we're going to talk about the solo in a second, but I just want to kind of... That's all the rhythm parts for the song. And it's just spread out in the PDF. So we start with an intro that you play 4 times. We then do verse 1, which you play twice. This is all listed on the PDF. Go and get it. We then go into like that sort of middle section, the E, C, D, E. We go into that section. We play that twice. We then go into verse 2, which we play twice. Moving on to that, we go to the bridge, which is this one over here. And then we play verse 3 4 times. So I know this says verse 2 over here, but just imagine it says verse 3. Following that, you're going to get into the solo. Now, if you feel like the solo's a little bit beyond you, that's okay. You can just be chugging away on... If you're up for the solo, let's have a look at it now. Let's have a look at this solo then. So, it's been years since I've gone back over this, probably about 15 since I first learnt it, and coming back to it as a much better guitar player now, with 15 years experience, there's so many little bits that I missed, and I've really enjoyed going back through it. So we're still in E minor pentatonic, but we're starting to kind of use the middle of the neck, and then eventually we kind of finish up the dusty end, and I've spread this out across 4 slides. Do make sure you grab the PDF though if you want to kind of... I encourage you to sort of get a pencil and sort of scribble through this. So let's have a look at the sections and we'll break it all down. So this is the first bit. Really melodic. It's almost like there's certain parts of the solo that almost have like a bit of an Irish kind of thing about them. When we get there, I'll show you what I mean. I've really enjoyed going through this. So we're going to start with the 9th fret of the G string. I'm going to bend it up a full step and then bring it back down. That's why the line goes up and then comes back down. I'm looking over here. Bend it up and bend it down. And then you'll see it's telling you to pull off to the 7th fret of the same string. And then I'm going to hammer from 7 back to 9. I do have to pick it. That second 7, I do have to pick it. Sorry. And then can you see this wobbly line up here, which means plenty of vibrato. Get that under your fingers for me. Then looking over here, I'm going to pick the 9 and the 7, and then I'm going to pull off. There's a lot of that where he'll pick it, then he'll pull off, or vice versa. And it's just part of that lovely legato playing that Tony Iommi is known for. I'm then going to look in here, I'm going to, with my ring finger, I'm going to play the 9th fret of the string above and slide down to fret 7. That's what this lick sounds like. On the D string still, I'm going to hammer between 5 and 7 with the index and ring fingers. And then I'm going to slide from 5 to 7. Now I'm going to slide in with my ring finger because I'm going to need to come back to this 5th fret over here to marry up with what the rhythm section are doing. So let me go through that one last time. Hey, we'll start on fret 9, that'd be a good start. Crux of getting this right is sliding into this 7th fret here, second to last note in the 3rd bar with the ring finger. Makes a massive difference. Pause the video and get that under your fingers. If you're feeling okay, we're going to move on to the second slide of the solo, which is halfway through the second page of the PDF. We're still kind of in this area down here. I'm going to hammer on to between 5 and 7 on the D. And then I'm going to pick the 7 again and slide up to fret 9. Now you might think, well, I'm being really specific and really kind of picky with which notes are to be slid and which ones are to be hammered. But that's part of this sound that Iommi's getting. You've got, like, if we're going to do it, we've got to do it properly, yeah? So that's the first 4 notes. I'm then going to drop down to the G string and I'm going to hammer between 7 and 9 on the G and then pick the 9 again. So we're sort of walking up this pentatonic shape. We're sort of going between position 3 and position 4 of the pentatonic scale. Minor pentatonic, mind you. Well then, this point, this is really important. As we get into this second bar, you've just been sliding into this 9 with the ring finger. As a one-off, I'd like you to slide in with your middle finger, and I'll tell you why. Because you're going to slide between 7 and 9 here. And then we're going to sort of... We're going to go into 4th position, which has... And I feel like... We've got this kind of... Like you'd go from position 1 into position 2. Sorry, he says. It just falls under the fingers a little bit better. So when you're sliding into this next bar, on the PDF you'll see there's a number 2. I've cut it off on this slide, but you'll see there's a number 2 underneath the sheet music. Right underneath this 7, and where the quavers are, where that little bridge is, you'll see there's a number 2. And that's because I want you to use your middle finger, okay? That one. So we're going to slide in. Index finger on the 8th, ring finger on the 10th, and then I'm going to bend that 10, bring it back down because it goes up and comes down, and pull off to fret 8. I know there's one more note in this bar, but it doesn't fit into this phrase. Really soulful kind of lick. And then we're essentially going to do that again. We're going to bend the 10th fret and bring it back down and then pull off to the 8th here. But we're going to take his time a little bit with this 10th fret. So that's the 8th fret there that I've just played. I'm then going to play 10, 8, 9, 9 with the middle finger. We're then going to go 8, 9, 9 again. But can you hear how there's an extra one? Now, the quickest you've ever done in your life, I want you to take that shape, move it all the way up to 12th position, bend the 14, and play those notes. Bend the 14. I know it's a bit naughty, but I like to use my middle finger there, because it just means I can get there quicker. Let me see if I can play the whole thing for you. It's quite hard with no context underneath it. Like that. That's what we're going for. So that's slide 2. Get that under your fingers. Slide 2 is the most difficult one to sort of place, I found, practicing this. This one is... this one's not as... This is where the kind of Irish thing comes in with the semiquavers. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So we're going to bend the 15th fret. We're going to bend it 3 times. On the 3rd time we bend it, we don't do a full bend. You just want to bend it out of tune ever so slightly. You see how I'm bending it just a little bit? Now, if you play the 16th fret, it doesn't sound right. I think in the moment he wasn't sure whether to bend it or not, and that's kind of why it sounds the way that it does. It's just ever so... It's almost like a blue note, but it's not. It's blue note's up there, isn't it? So we've got that first bar. Then we're going to play the 15th fret of the high E, and we're going to bend that twice. We're going to bend it a 3rd time here. Bend it up and down. And then pull off to the 12th fret. And then we've got this little flurry of notes where we pull off between the 15 and the 12 on the high E and the 15. And this is what I mean about this little Irish. It's all this kind of business, okay? So far, first 2 bars you've got. Now this lick going into bar 3 is identical to the end of bar 2. Where the first 2 notes are the quick ones and the 3rd note is the slow one. Now this catches me out on occasion because I'm thinking about moving down the pentatonic scale. We're in position 1 of the minor pentatonic here. And I'm always thinking about the next phrase when you've got to make sure you do this one twice, otherwise it won't marry up with what Iommi's doing, okay? So you've got... Then we're going to go to the B string with a very similar motion, but I'm going to pull off between 15 and 12 on the B, 14 of the G, bend it, and then bar, sort of roll the finger over on the 12th fret. We've then got another one of those without bending it. That's just a sort of standard bluesy lick. 12th fret on the G, 14 on the D. Bend on the 14, bring it down. It's that kind of da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and that's what I mean by that Irish thing. It kind of almost, not in an Iron Maiden kind of way, but it kind of has this gallop, which is really cool, but the way that it cascades through the pentatonics, which carries on into the 4th slide. So we're going to bend the 14th fret of the G, and then we've got 4 semiquavers where we hammer on and pull off between the 12th, 14th fret of the G, go up to the root, that's an E note up there, and then we're going to walk down the pentatonic scale, 12th fret, 14th fret, and then do a little flurry of notes here again. So whenever you see these notes that have got 2 lines, they're almost got the bridges underneath them and they've got 2 lines. Those are called semiquavers. Those are really, really quick dudes, okay? That's what that first bar sounds like. Moving over, last difficult bar. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a position shift here. I'm in what we call 12th position, and what that means is my index finger is hovering around fret number 12. I'm actually going to go to 10th position and start with my ring finger and play those 12 frets with my ring finger. Like that, you see how I'm rolling the finger? And then hammer on and pull off. And slide up. And then we've got 12. Crotchet, quavers, crotchet. Just a filler bar, there's nothing too kind of strenuous in that. And then you've got da da da, which bookends it all. Now, I know some of you have been asking for playthroughs of these. I've got something that I'm working on behind the scenes, and in the future I'm foresee a full clip of me playing all of this, which you can break down and slow down one thing or another. But I'm hitting copyright wall after copyright wall, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to fix that yet. But a playthrough will be coming where you can hear it all in context with scrollable tabs. Okay, so thank you for being patient. So that takes you up to the end of the solo, and just to round the song off, we're now looking, this is the top of page 3 of the PDF. We go back to a verse. We're going to play the verse 4 times again. Nothing too strenuous. Which is just the same as what we've done prior to this. We then go into the twice, followed by verse 5. Now, verse 5 goes round 4 times. However, I've only put it 3 times at the end of here because the ending at the very bottom of the PDF has this cool little lick down here where the band all kind of play the same lick to finish. Bars 1, 2 and 3 of this phrase are identical to what you've previously done. But instead of going da da da, you're going to do this lick down here that sounds like this. He says, where's my volume? So it's kind of similar. You're going to play that B note on the 2nd fret of the A string, play the 3rd fret of the low E string, and I'm going to bend it out of tune ever so slightly, and then I'm going to play a little E5 power chord at the bottom there. So you've got... And that concludes the song. So, gear, tones. Tony Iommi was well known for using the Gibson SG and the Laney amplifiers when they were recording Paranoid, the whole album Paranoid. It's a bit it's disputed whether it was his 1964 SG that's labelled the Monkey. It has a little monkey sticker on it, which is an older Gibson SG style guitar that he was using at the time. Or he had a 3 pickup cream custom as well that he was using at the time. There's clips of him, there's photographs of them recording Paranoid, and he's using both guitars. I've read through so many forums where they're spitting backwards and forwards and they can't decide which one. So it's a Gibson SG of some variety. He used Laney amplifiers with 12-inch speakers. Notably, he wanted 12-inch speakers. He wanted that thicker sound. And he used a Dallas Rangemaster, which is like a little box that sits on top of the amplifier. And it gives you a lot more gain. People like Brian May, Rory Gallagher used those. I'm using a Generation 3 Boss Katana 50 today. I'm on the lead setting. I've got the gain set to 2 o'clock. I've got the volume set to 10 o'clock. Bass is on 1 o'clock. Middle's on 12 o'clock. Treble's on 1 o'clock. I've got the reverb halfway up on the plate reverb setting, and I'm running it at 25 watts. It's quite a saturated sound, and it takes a little bit of wrangling. I don't know if you've seen me messing around with my switches and stuff during the lesson. It's probably the most distorted tone I've had on the set for quite some time. Because you know me, if you've watched any of my lessons before, you know that less is more with gain. Well, actually, more is more when it comes to Sabbath. Now, Tony Iommi also plays a lot of chords higher up the neck, and it's because he plays with really thin strings, and he actually lost the ends of a couple of his fingers. I think it's 3 of his fingers. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. 3 of his fingers he was a sheet metal worker, and he cut them off with a guillotine. So he has little prosthetics that he uses, and because of that, he's got to use thin strings to so that he can play the guitar essentially. And what he found was playing power chords higher up the neck was a lot easier for him and gave him the sound that he wanted. Now, I spent years playing Paranoid like this. That's not the sound. And it's taken me a while to come around to the idea of playing up, but you think of any of those Sabbath riffs. The sound chunkier up there. It's like the whole Ritchie Blackmore thing of playing Smoke on the Water. In a time before digital witchcraft with amplifiers and pedals and one thing and another, you had to sort of play on the thickest string with as much gusto as you could without snapping it to give it that sound. And that's what Iommi's doing up there. You'll notice that a lot of the power chords as well, they're only 2-finger power chords, and I think that's got something to do with his mobility in his fingers as well. I can't hear that. I can't hear that E note at the top. If I... It doesn't sound right with that note on the top. Whereas... It's very kind of mono, it's very kind of no-nonsense, straight to the point, and that's why I love Tony Iommi. He's one of my favourite guitar players. Is there another Sabbath song that you'd like me to cover? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget, go get the free PDF. It's well worth your time. I'll see you next week for another guitar lesson. Thank you so much.